Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all good. I'm joined with my mum again today.
Hey.
So today we're going to be talking about how you can manage tradesmen effectively. So yeah, we're just going to go through some of the key things you need to know when managing tradesmen, just to make it a smooth process, you know? So, do you want to go first?
Sure. So I guess this first one is almost, there's a little bit of a tip in terms of, you know, at what point do you need to be getting quotes and tenders, and at what point do you just go with the builder that you know? And in the refurbs that we've done so far, we have just gone with the builder that we know. That may not suit everybody, but it has worked for us because it was somebody that we knew, trusted, somebody that had done kind of work for other people, etc. So just to caveat this, we're not yet at the stage where we're doing sort of like, you know, mega massive refurbs where you have to get tenders and contracts and all of that in place. Some would argue that we should do because it's still quite a lot of money, but yeah, we're not at that stage of any sort of like complex or large tenders yet. These are fairly small, you know, they're all kind of like around the sort of sub 70-80k mark, which when you say it like that actually sounds like quite a lot. Yeah. But yeah, but we have a builder that we know and trust, and it works.
And we actually found him through a personal recommendation. So he'd done some work for my auntie before, and then when it came to us doing our first project, we ended up using him. So I'd say that is a really good tip, like using someone that's been recommended by someone else and like someone that you trust as well, because then you know like the quality of their work, you're going to know what they like to work with and things like that. We've actually had an incident recently where we've got someone off Facebook, and well,
that was me, sorry.
Yeah.
Not good, don't do it.
Yeah, it turned out to not be great. He was like, well, he said that he was a tiler. He wasn't a tiler. I don't even know what that situation was. Yeah. So yeah, just be careful, I'd say, online, like when choosing people.
Yeah, I would say just don't choose people from Google. Just don't do it. And don't do the Facebook recommendations. I just think don't choose anybody who you haven't had a personal recommendation from.
Yeah. And I think as well, even with your personal recommendations, be very careful with who recommends them. Like, you know,
agreed.
Just be careful.
I'd absolutely agree with that. I feel like the first renovation that we were doing, that we were working on, there were some people there were some trades that had been recommended by other trades, and actually the standard was not good.
Yeah.
Shall I go next?
Yeah.
So something that I'm going to talk about is the schedule of works. So we talked about a schedule of finishes actually on another video that we've done, which was the renovation tips. But I want to talk about the schedule of works because this is something that I found really useful doing at the start, not just to manage the trades, but also just to help to manage the whole project. So schedule of works is basically a document that describes, pretty much in layman's terms, what it is that you want doing. And I've just found it really useful, first of all, just to kind of get out of your head what needs doing and be really clear on what's going to be done in the job. But also then it's a really good way of communicating to the builder. So you just document everything. So whether that be, you know, so for example, for our 5-bed HMO renovation, you know, it was detailing, you know, how many bathrooms needed to be created, where they were going to go. You know, and in the one that we're doing now, it's, you know, whether a corridor needs putting somewhere, whether we're going to create a bedroom by knocking out a window. It's just everything in layman's terms, you know, repairs to the roof, repairs to the external, everything, but just in layman's terms. And the way that I do it, I mean, I did find a couple of templates online, but I almost kind of then just literally walk through everything physically as though you're like walking through the house, and you kind of like imagine all of the stuff that has to be done, like structurally. And that for me is how I kind of like develop the schedule of works. And then obviously, you know, I add a little bit of stuff that's kind of a bit more sort of tradesy around, you know, fixes and electrics and emergency lighting, stuff like that. Actually, the other thing that was really good in terms of the schedule of works was we were really fortunate, I think, with our HMO officer, and The HMO officer also provides us with a schedule of works, which is basically all of the works that are needed to make sure that we meet the HMO regs, so the fire and safety. And again, we give that to the builder as well, the builder and the electrician. So everybody's crystal clear on exactly what needs doing. Because I think that's often where some of the arguments come round afterwards, is if you've not been clear up front with what needs doing. So that's my tip. You know, take the time to write out a proper schedule of works.
Yeah, like everybody needs to be singing off the same hymn sheet.
100%.
Yeah. So tip number 4 is to make sure that you always pay on time. You don't want to be that person who pays things late. Like, that's just a really bad reputation to have. And yeah, it just helps you build a better relationship with your builder, because I think they'll always want to work with you if they're like, okay, they'll defo pay on time, like they'll always pay on a Friday. And obviously it's their business as well, like whatever trade they do, that's their business, so you don't want to take the mick.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more. You want to be the client that the builder wants to work for, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah, because then the incentive is there for them to do a good job for you as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the next tip is whether you're going to pay the trades on a day rate or on a price per job. Now, with most large renovations, the builder is probably going to be managing most of the trades anyway, and we sort of have like a mixture really, where, you know, our builder will sort out some of the trades and whatever, and we'll kind of like sort out other ones, and you know, we kind of just keep the communication going. But in terms of how you pay, you can either pay them on a day rate, so you just pay them per day, and then when the job's finished, it's finished, or you can pay like a price per job. So that works really well, you know, with trades like plasterers. You might pay them per room, or just for the whole house. And also with things like electricians, again, you might pay them literally just for the whole job if it's a rewire, rather than per day. So it's just deciding up front which one's going to work. I always think a good tip to decide on whether you're going to go with day rate or per job is, if you think that the trade is going to take the mick in terms of how much they're going to charge, or that they're going to string the job out if it's a day rate, then obviously you just want them to price per job. I think generally you want them to price per job. But if you think you can actually get a full day of work out of them, and I'm not saying builders are work shy, and certainly ours aren't, but if you think you can get a good day out of them, and especially I would say if they're multi-skilled. So on our first refurb, we had some guys in that were multi-skilled, so they could do, you know, a bit of bricklaying, a bit of this, that and the other. And actually sometimes it's just an advantage having them on a day rate, because then they can do other things that are there. So that's just something else to think about.
Yeah, cool. And I definitely say that building a good relationship with your builder is key. Like, we've got a really good relationship with the builder that we use
at least we think we have anyway. To be fair, at the start of this job, he did say that he had a nightmare about us.
They were actually really nice. No, but he said at the end of the last one that he enjoyed working with us. Don't you remember?
Yeah.
Or was it his wife? Or whatever. But yeah, make sure that you build a really good relationship with your builder.
So
like,
important.
Yeah, you don't want things to ever get aggy or anything like that. And yeah, I think you need to know when to be firm, but never be rude. Like,
yeah.
No.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think if you're respectful and pleasant, and if you're really clear about what you want, there's not really any need for it to get aggy, unless you've got a builder that's taken a mick, to be honest.
Yeah.
But if you're really fair, you're really clear, and you're respectful of your builder, it shouldn't go wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing that I'd say that kind of goes with that is it's the site visits, because I think if you're visiting the site regularly and talking to the builder regularly, you're less likely to have misunderstandings and miscommunications.
Yeah.
So that relationship has more of a chance, really.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Cool.
The other tip then, in terms of communicating, drawings I think are key. Drawings on site, so particularly around the layout. So if there are changes to the layout, if you've got things like feature walls, have the drawings on site so that everybody can see them. And then sometimes, if say for example you're splitting a room in two, or there's a walkway or something, and this is something that somebody else taught me, kind of doing a refurb, is mark it out on the floor, just make it as easy as possible, because I think that's where people tend to fall out. It's when things aren't communicated clearly.
Yeah.
So by having the drawings on site, and that's maybe a few copies of the drawings, you know, sort of dotted around the place, you know, stuck on the wall, etc. And then having things clearly marked out, I think that's a really good way of making sure that everybody knows what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing that we've learned more recently, I guess, on our second project, is that more trades and like more labourers don't necessarily mean that the work's going to get done faster. So for our first project, there was people everywhere. Like, there was people everywhere. Like, literally had bagger man everywhere. Like, it was busy, but the work didn't really get done that quickly. I think, I'm not going to say that like some were dotting around, but like it just didn't get done that quick.
I think some of that was just because there were more people there that needed instructing.
Yeah.
And that takes up time, and you've got to think about that.
Yeah, definitely. So on our current refurb, we've probably had like half the amount of people that we had on the first one, and I'd say the work has been done pretty much in the same time. And our current refurb is actually bigger than the one we had before, so yeah.
And that's right. We've definitely learned a lot about that, and I think that was a conscious decision. We just wanted it to be sort of more focused and just getting the right skilled trade in, and that's what we've done, and I'm really pleased with that.
Yeah, same.
I don't know whether our builder would agree. Yeah, one that I mentioned before, the regular site visits and the updates as well. So if you're not going out to site, or you're doing a renovation, particularly if you're doing one that's remote, you know, it's just lots of phone calls and updates. And the other thing I'd say as well is trying to think ahead and anticipate decisions. I think that's the one thing, you know, going into refurbs, I didn't realise how many decisions you have to make. As much, even if you've got your schedule of works and all of that sort of thing, it's just decision after decision after decision, because there's always things that you can't think of. And so I think you have to have really regular lines of communication with your builder and with your trades. Otherwise, they will end up making decisions for you, and that's when you start to fall out. And they will make the decisions because decisions have got to be made. Otherwise, you'll be holding up progress. So I would say regular site visits if you can. But if you can't, you know, regular calls, etc. I mean, I speak to the builder, I think at least every other day. It's probably
more than that.
It's probably fed up for me by now.
Probably twice a day. So my final tip is to stick with who you know. So, for example, when we did our first project, we found a really good tiler. We really got on with him really well. His work is immaculate. Then for the second project, because...
all right.
For the second project, because we wanted the work done quicker, that's when we ended up going, well, that's when Mum ended up going onto Facebook to try and find a tiler.
I'm going to never live this down, I can see. It's fine, it's all good, I've learned my lesson.
And then basically now what we've had to do is go back to the tiler that we were using for the first project. So say when you find really good people, just hang on to them, you know? And
just in my defense,
here we go.
In my defense, the reason that I thought we needed to find somebody is firstly because the tiler, as brilliant as he is, and he came through a personal recommendation, and he is absolutely amazing, but he lives like 40 miles away. So for me, the ideal, obviously, is if you can get trades that are local, yeah, but
obviously,
but you know, sometimes it's not worth the trade-off, and I've definitely learned that lesson.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So just hang on to the good tradesmen when you find them, because, well, they're hard to come by. So, yeah. And I'd also say when people need cutting off the job, cut them off quickly. Like, savage, I know, but just get them gone, because they'll ruin everything.
You have to, yeah. And I think that goes for in terms of the standard of work, but also personalities. I mean, we're quite lucky because we haven't had any issues.
No.
We did in the first essay that we're working on. There were issues there. There were definitely personality clashes, but yeah. But we haven't had any of that here. If anything, all of them kind of knew each other, apart from the ones from out of town.
Because it's like such a small place, so like they're all, you know, they all like went to school together or whatever. So when one walks in, it's like, oh, you're right, I know you from school. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's all been pretty calm.
Yeah.
Got anything else to say?
No, I think that's everything. I think, yeah, just in terms of managing trades, I would just say, yeah, just keep it respectful. Keep it respectful. I think, you know, be firm. But keep it respectful. But definitely have your wits about you, because there are definitely cowboy builders out there that will take the mick. Yeah, take the mic, yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for watching, guys. We've done a few of these like house renovation tip videos, so I'll make sure I leave them all in the description bar below. But thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it as always, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
And you don't want to be that person who's and now we've had so rude, like, so on our current project we've literally just had 2 guys doing all the work, and I really think that the work,
not all the work, although I'm sure at times they feel like it.
Yeah, but like pretty much all the way up until recent.
We've had the electrician going in all the time.
Let me just start again.
Yeah.